Hello and welcome to your All Elements reading for the new moon in Virgo 2022. So if you are new to this channel and new to these readings, welcome. I am Michelle Walker. I am an intuitive coach, Reiki healer, yoga instructor, and oracle deck creator living in Chicago, Illinois, and I do these readings every new and full moon. There is a shorter reading, which is probably what you're watching now, on the general collective channels of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then there's also an extended reading that happens over on my Patreon. So patreon.com/Michelle Shea is where all the action is happening, but this is a little taste of what you get over there. So on my Patreon, depending on the level you're at, you get weekly pick-a-card readings, monthly tarot scopes for each zodiac sign. You get these extended readings at both the new and full moon. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Michelle Shea Walker. I am an intuitive coach, a Reiki teacher, a yoga instructor, and an oracle deck creator living in Chicago, Illinois. And we do these readings every new and full moon on the general collective channels of YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And then there's always an extended reading where we dive deep into the topics at hand over on my Patreon. Patreon.com/Michelle Shea. You join the monthly mystic level or higher and you get access to the extended videos. You can also join for just $3 and get weekly pick-a-card readings and monthly tarot scope. And if you join the highest level, you get a bunch of brand new, newly designed, exclusive to the Patreon merch goodies. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, or if this reading resonates for you, head over to patreon.com/Michelle Shea and join up for whatever level strikes your fancy. So normally I pull a single card from the Total Betty Goddess deck, which is a deck of my creation. This is the first incarnation, which is almost sold out on the website. And then the second edition is on its way for me to approve the original print so that we can get the pre-orders sent out to people. So you can either go over to michelleshewalker.com and order the first edition for a discounted price with the coloring guidebook included, or you can pre-order the second edition, which I'm so proud of and I cannot wait to have in my hands for my own personal deck. So I hope that you enjoy it as well. Where was I? So normally we do one card from the Total Betty Goddess deck, but since I started doing these general collective readings as elemental readings for the earth, air, fire, and water signs, I figured why not give every single element its own goddess? So if you're watching this, I recommend that you at the very least watch your sun and your rising sign, depending on what element that is. And if you want to add in your moon or your Venus for a little influence on your inner life or your love life, feel free to do that as well. There will be timestamps below on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, if you want to sort of digitally be able to get your hands in the deck to get your energy on the cards that I'm pulling in this video, head over to YouTube.com/Michelle Shea Walker and watch the video there so that you can subscribe and like. Because the individuals who subscribed on my YouTube already have their energy infused in these cards, as well as the people who are on my Patreon. Their energy is highly infused in these cards. And the more your energy can kind of get on the cards, the more accurate the reading's gonna be. If you're watching this on Facebook or Instagram and you don't want to head over to YouTube, just hit the like button so that you can infuse a little bit of your energy in the cards. If you want to follow, but YouTube is really where we're trying to get the action to happen, because if I get enough followers, I can start doing live readings over there, and wouldn't that be fun? We're gonna dive in and we'll start with our earth signs since we have a Virgo new moon. So earth signs would be Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And we'll shuffle up the Total Betty Goddess deck, which, by the way, is a deck of 90s icons. So if you're into the 90s, like I clearly am, you might enjoy this deck. Your Total Betty Goddess for the Virgo new moon is Gunlod, played by Janet Jackson in Poetic Justice. So right away, earth signs, you're having a little calling to express your emotions, and it might be easier for you to express your emotions in a creative way. So earth signs are notoriously stiff upper lipped, I think is what I want to say. And it's not that you don't have emotions or that you don't know how to express them, but sometimes your ego gets in the way of you expressing those emotions. So Gunlod is saying that you can actually use rhyme, she's the goddess of poetry, or just artistic expression in general, or the poetry of others to help you express and move these emotions through your body. So one of my favorite practices for whenever I'm feeling a lot of intense emotions, because I got a lot of water in my chart, is to sit down and try and make those emotions into a poem. even if it's a bad poem, because it just becomes that much more cleansing to me if I have to talk about how I'm feeling and also try to rhyme it. So maybe that's a therapeutic exercise you can try. But if you're not feeling like you're poetic at all and that just feels embarrassing to you, search for a song with the perfect lyrics for how you feel. That's a little bit from my Pisces moon. And then just allow yourself to let the energy move through you as you listen to that song. So, Earth signs, let yourself feel something, even if it's at the influence of someone else's art. So we're going to dive in with our energy and advice cards, which are coming from the Modern Witch Tarot, my new favorite tarot deck. And for Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, let's see what we got here. The cards are very sticky. The cards were very sticky on the last full moon reading for you Earth signs, so you're just not wanting to tell me something. The energy is the Nine of Swords. I think I understand what you're trying to hide. And the advice is strength. Ah, that's so beautiful. So, okay. Like I said, Earth signs, you're feeling some feels. You're feeling some feels, and there's nothing wrong with that. My water sign wants to wrap you up in a big hug and tell you that feelings are good. Let yourself feel feelings. Let yourself express feelings. The Nine of Swords is telling me that you are kind of in your head about something, and it might be keeping you up at night, a little bit of stress, a little bit of worry. But ultimately, the message of the Nine of Swords is telling us that you have control over it because it's your mind that you're grappling with. It's not the actual external situations. It's you worrying about stuff that hasn't happened yet, or worrying about conversations that you haven't had. So the Nine of Swords is telling you to kind of switch your perspective and find a healthy way to channel what's moving through you in those late night hours that's not letting you sleep out into the world with your expression of your emotions. So again, maybe it's trying to write yourself a poem. Maybe it's finding the perfect song to just be able to like vent out while you listen to it on loop over and over again. Or maybe it's scheduling yourself a therapy session. Just find somewhere that you can channel these emotions so that they're not coming up at night right before you're ready to sleep, because you're pushing them down and pushing them down throughout the day. And then right whenever your body relaxes and you're supposed to be restoring yourself, they all come forward because you've been bottling them up. So don't bottle up your emotions. Our advice card is telling us that you are strong enough to deal with this. And it's also telling us that strength comes from vulnerability. So if you are trying to muscle your way through these feelings by not talking about them and pretending that they don't exist, know that you're going to be that much stronger when you actually allow yourself to look at the emotions and examine them and let them move through your body. It's going to cause dis-ease in your body if you continue to bottle these things up. So you're going to start to feel that it's affecting your health. It's going to affect your physical body. Your joints are going to start to ache. Maybe they are already. So your actual strength comes from letting this energy move through you. Because if you're trying to bottle it up, it's going to harm you from the inside out. It's going to start to eat away at you in some physical way that starts to manifest. Take it from an energy healer. Everything that happens to you physically starts on an emotional and energetic level. Even if you injure yourself from some sort of external circumstance, you were weak in that area because of some sort of emotional or internal factor. So don't keep everything bottled up. You have to let it move through you. And again, Ganlada is here to support you in any sort of artistic, poetic expression that you want to try and channel that stuff out of you. And sometimes, while I do think therapy is a great option, the artistic endeavors, whether it be poetry or song or some other creativity like a short story or a painting, feels a little more suited for people that don't want to admit that they have emotions, because you can just allow it to be the art. And then you don't necessarily have to tell anybody about what the source of the art was. You can be one of those really enigmatic, you can be one of those really elusive artists that allows the work to speak for itself and then not feel the need to tell your personal story. So Earth signs, I hope that served you well. New moons are a great time to manifest a new way of being and a new way of thinking of things. So the energy is in support of you turning over a new leaf in your emotional sharing sector of your life. Up next, why not? Let's dive into the water signs. We talked about a lack of sharing emotions. Let's get into my fellow watery feelers who may sometimes need to share less emotions. So first we're going to start off with our Total Betty Goddess card. So I'm jumping up the deck for our Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces sign. So whether it's your sun, your moon, your rising, your Venus, here we go. Your goddess is Isis, played by Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction as Mia Wallace. So right off, before I even pull any more cards, this is a card of rebirth. It's a card of being able to regenerate yourself after some sort of metaphorical death. So there's definitely something in your life that is ending, but it's ending to bring in a new transformation. So it's a good ending. For myself, I'm getting ready to move apartments. This will be the last time you see this backdrop behind me because actually on the new moon, while you're watching this video, I am probably moving apartments across the courtyard to a bigger unit. I'm super excited about it, but there is, you know, a little bit of like Cancer mourning of like the home that I've built for the past 3 months that I'm gonna leave behind, but that death is giving birth to this new start, this renewal, this rebirth. So that is what's happening here. Apply it to your personal situation. But there is something in your world that's ending, but it's ending to make room for something bigger and better. And you probably already know what that bigger, better thing is. So this isn't a case where it's like this mysterious, you got to hand it over to the universe type thing. Something's ending because you've set a goal and you're starting to achieve that goal. And that goal is taking you away from something that was done into something that's a new beginning. So just trust that process and also know that it's okay that you are mourning the loss of something from your past, but also know that Isis is here to give you the power to transmute that energy into something that is very, very healing and productive and cathartic. So with that in mind, we're going to shuffle up our Modern Witch Tarot. The cards are still kind of sticky from my earth signs, so we'll see if they shuffle up any better for my water signs. A little less resistant, still a little resistant to being read. We'll start with our energy of the Three of Swords, just backing up what I said, and the advice of the Magician. So water signs, yep, we got some heartbreak. We got some heartbreak over something ending, and that's okay because it's making room for that something new. And it's also awakening our inner magician, which is that part of us that knows that we have every one of the elements at our disposal. So Pentacles is earth, Wands is fire, Swords is air, Cups is water. We have all of those under our belt right now to be able to transmute, which also makes sense for Isis because Isis is a super powerful goddess. She pretty much can do whatever it is that she wants, and the Magician can also do whatever it is that they want because there is this feeling of having everything you need in your back pocket. So if you are going through this transformation, utilize what you have. This is a message that I'm telling myself as well. So like if I use the metaphor of my story of moving from one apartment to the next, there are plenty of things that I want to buy for this new apartment. Plenty of supplies, plenty of new pieces of furniture. But I'm learning as I make the transition, at least to start, that I can utilize what I have already. So don't feel like in order to make this shift from this metaphorical death into this rebirth that you have to acquire anything. You have everything you need already. So whether it be material goods that you're trying to acquire or skills that you're trying to acquire, you don't need it. You can do that in the future, that's fine, but don't feel like you have to put pause on this transformation because you don't have these things, because you have everything that you need for this transition. So keep that in mind. You are super powerful right now, and especially if you can allow yourself to translate those feelings of loss into excitement for the new beginning and allow yourself to kind of ebb and flow between those two worlds as you make this transition, that is going to make you extra, extra powerful as you move into this new beginning. So water signs, I hope that that served you well. Moving forward, we'll go into fire signs next. So Aries, Leo, I love you. Why did I forget you? So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. We'll see what kind of Total Betty Goddess has some advice for you. You got Persephone. A lot of things are coming through, actually. It's a little bit of hermit energy. So there's a little bit of being able to go underground and restore yourself and hibernate and collect your resources, and then coming back above ground, because Persephone goes into the underworld for half the year and then comes back to the heavens for half the year. So this is definitely a feeling of like allowing that to happen, allowing there to be a little bit of a hermit mode that maybe you're going through right now, because there is something that you're being called to do that's very different from what the outside world expects of you. This is a channel message coming through. We don't have any cards for this yet, but there is definitely a feeling of you're being called to be a bit of a black sheep in whatever it is that your next life mission is. And so you're allowed to kind of go underground and disconnect from the outside world for a while, so you can reconnect to your inner voice and be able to listen to that more than you're listening to the outside opinions. So let's see what your cards are. We have Zoe making an appearance for you fire signs. The energy is the Star. And your advice is the Seven of Cups. So, you're just being called to daydream. Honestly, I feel like I leave the reading at that, and that would be the end of this storyline, but I will dive a little bit deeper. So because we have Persephone with you needing to hermit yourself away and embrace your inner weirdo and be able to come back out into the world confident in your abilities to be a little off the beaten path and be the black sheep and still be okay with that, because the world needs your black sheepness. You are also being told that you are just being blessed and being given the opportunity to restore yourself and feel really beautiful and healthy and healed, and also to daydream and imagine what kind of future you want. So fire signs, if you're being called to some quick action, it might not be the time for it. So I know fire signs are notorious for being a little more impulsive, but it might be a time period to get really impulsive about daydreaming and about giving yourself the nourishment that you need, and about maybe giving a little extra sleep or a little extra time indoors. Follow your bliss, honestly. That's what the Star card is telling us. The Star card is saying, like, do whatever makes you feel good right now. But if there is something that you're wanting to sort of like debut into the world that feels a little scary, feels a little weird, feels a little, again, off the beaten path, hold off on that. Wait until you're so restored from all of this juicy self-care that you're giving yourself that you can't help but feel confident in your ability to share things, because nothing could harm you. So this is like your little spa retreat before a big work push. This is definitely a time period, and there will be some work that's still being done, because your Seven of Cups is saying that you are daydreaming, you are kind of being able to imagine all the possible outcomes to your future. So allow yourself to do that as the work that you need to be done. Do a lot of scripting, journaling, vision boarding, whatever your groovy, hippie, new age manifesting practice is. Do a lot of that, but also do a lot of stuff that just makes your body feel good. And for some of us, that's taking lots of sleep. Some of us it may mean some yoga. Some of us it may mean just lounging around. This Star and this particular reading's energy reminds me of that meme or that tweet that's something to the degree of, we're just supposed to be lying around eating fruit with our titties out, and I don't know what all this other fuss is about. That's kind of your energy underneath this new moon, fire signs. So allow yourself to just be this nudist Renaissance painting and enjoy your life and enjoy the luxury of your life and daydream about your future. And you kind of already know where that future is going, because I think that that's why you're being called inward. There might be something, there's definitely something that you've been a little scared to admit to the world, or a little scared to go public about, and the universe is saying, like, hey, take like a couple weeks rest before you dive into that pool. Let yourself restore and feel really revitalized before you go into that thing, because it's going to be a great experience. It's going to put you on the path that you're meant to be on right now in your life, but it's also going to have a lot of outside noise coming in. So wait until you're so into your own routine and your own self-care rituals that you don't even notice the outside noise. And then allow the world to know what you're working on. So fire signs, I hope that that reading served you well. Moving into finally our air signs. So Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We'll shuffle up the Total Betty deck and see which goddess is in store for you. Air signs, your Total Betty goddess is 8, played by Courtney Love of Hole from her Live Through This Era. And it is, first of all, one of the cards that got a little color makeover on the new deck, so I can't wait to show you that. But it is definitely an energy of allowing yourself to get in the mix a little. This feels like a very air sign appropriate card. It just came over me. This is very, I think all air signs are guilty of this, but particularly Gemini. This is very Gemini, like devil's advocate, get into the mix, gossip it up, like get your fingers in someone else's pie is what this is saying to me. It's like get into other people's business a little bit. And I don't know where we're going with this. I'm trying to feel out in the energy. I feel like, yeah, it feels like it's bad advice, but I think the tarot cards are gonna back it up. So we're gonna shuffle up the Modern Witch Tarot and see what energies come forward for your energy and advice. So for Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius under this Virgo new moon, we have the energy of the 8 of Cups and the advice of the Page of Wands. All right, I didn't immediately get more clarity from those cards, but we're gonna dive in a little deeper. I think you're being called to be a devil's advocate almost in like the truest form. I think allowing yourself to be mischievous or gossipy or putting your nose into other people's business this month is going to clarify something about a relationship that isn't serving you anymore. So I'm getting a couple storylines that are coming through here. It could be that you're just asking all of your air sign appropriate interview type questions as you are talking to someone in conversation, and you ask a question that's kind of a little inappropriate to ask, but you get an answer that's really clarifying for that relationship, and you realize that either the person you're talking to or the person that you're talking about actually isn't the person that you imagine them to be, and it's time to walk away. There's also this energy of being your truest self and letting yourself truly enjoy conversation in a way that has no filter is going to clarify the people in your life that are of your same vibration. That's a really strong story that's coming through. So I would take the first story lightly. It might apply to some of you, but for everyone, allowing yourself to take the filter off of your conversation styles this month, for better or for worse, is going to really weed out your true friends and kind of let the rest of the group go. Not necessarily go forever, but you're gonna know where you stand with your friendships a little bit more. So particularly if you're a Libra out there and you like to be a people pleaser and maybe you're like accommodating your conversations to the other person, this is definitely a time period that's saying like, hey, no, don't do that, because you're gonna really enjoy the conversations a lot more if the people that you're talking to want to talk about the same things you want to talk about. For my Geminis, again, like that full-on devil's advocate, gossipy Gemini energy can be a lot for some people, but this is saying like, don't hold back. Like, let them know who you are up front, and then you're gonna get to indulge in the type of conversations that you really enjoy, rather than trying to kind of put on this facade for people that might be uncomfortable with that. And then for my Aquarius and my Aquarius rising, get out your weird. Let your freak flag fly for you Aquarius. So in the conversation, don't hold back your opinions on those controversial issues or conspiracy theories or new age concepts that maybe you try to filter out for others. And through this, you're gonna find a little more passion in your life. This Page of Wands is like the beginnings of like a type of passion that you didn't realize that you could have in social settings. It's definitely feeling like it is the beginnings of something new, something fresh, a new way of being. It feels kind of similar to that, like, middle-aged women, like, not giving a fuck what anybody thinks anymore, and like doing crazy stuff like that. That's kind of what you're entering into your eccentric older lady era, air signs. And I want you to embrace it. In conversation, allow yourself to be your full-blown self at full volume, and it'll really quickly give you the community that you desire, which will create a lot more passion in your life. It'll create a community around you that inspires your creativity and inspires your passion. All that being said, these two cards have something in common. So we both got two individuals with walking sticks. Your energy is walking away from something. Your advice is not yet in another situation. She's kind of in between. So I'm gonna give you a little, I don't want to say warning, because I don't want you to not to follow this advice, but just a heads up that you may not walk away immediately from the people that aren't serving you into your ideal community. You'll find little pieces of them throughout the process, because you are going to find that as you let yourself show up at full volume, that some people are all about it that are already in your life, and it may be people that you don't expect, like people that you thought would have like not been able to handle you will actually have more in common with you than what you gave them credit for, and then you'll find like a really beautiful friendship there. But you'll probably be losing more people than you're currently keeping, but you will eventually gain that same number back. It just takes time. First of all, it takes time for you to get used to showing up at full volume. So that's part of the process as well. It's about you recognizing what your authentic self is. Because I think that for some of you, you'll show up with what you think is your authentic self, and it's actually a characterization that you've developed that's not your true self. It's a mask that you've developed. And so as you start to allow yourself the permission to show up as your truest self, you might also be defining that as you go. And so that's going to be part of the process as well, is that the more authentic you become, the more you're going to attract the authentic connections. And so for a little bit, there might be an adjustment period where like you're not realizing you're not showing up as your authentic self, and so you call in some people that aren't quite a match, and then throughout self-acceptance and slowly going through this process, you're going to start showing up more and more as your genuine self, and that's going to attract just the right vibe. So you're like Goldilocks. You're getting rid of the cold porridge. You might try some porridge that's too hot, but eventually you're gonna find the porridge that's just right. Why did I just use Goldilocks as an example? I don't know. Blame it on the fact that I've been thinking about how the Berenstain Bears are spelled wrong now. So that's our timeline jump for the day. This is our elemental spread. If you resonated with anything in these readings, head over to patreon.com/Michelle Shea. We are gonna pull 10 to 12 cards for the collective over there, but because it is a hyper-focused collective with a small number of people, it is a hyper-focused reading, and I'm gonna shuffle all of the cards that are already on the table back into the deck so that they can be applied to that Patreon reading. And if you're watching on Patreon, the rest of your reading starts right now. I feel like this part of the reading is a very specific reading for someone that's watching. If this situation resonates for you, please comment below, because something about it didn't want to be read.